So in this video, we're going to be looking at the Spanish Segunda division, and we're going to be looking at our filter that we used in the previous video for the draw filters. And one of our users has commented, Chris, I think it was, so thanks for commenting, Chris, asking what this would look like for Segunda division. So I've done a little bit of digging, went down a few rabbit holes, as you'll see in the video, and actually ended up creating a system based on the draw filters that would actually work well in the Segunda for away wins, which is the beauty of this system. You can start building a strategy for one hypothesis and end up proving something completely different. So take a look, let me know what you think, and yeah, I'll see you soon.
So to answer Chris's question about how the draw filter would fare in the Segunda League in Spain, we're going to head back over to the Advanced Goal Stats module, and we're going to select Segunda from up here, Spain 2. We did it 2019 to 2024 last time, so we'll keep that for now. We did home win odds. Let me just check where we started at on the home win odds. I've written some of it down. 220 to 3, so 2.2 to 3, and we also had the over 2.5 goals filter set at 1.9 to 3 as well. Was it? No, 220. Yeah, that would have been way too high. 220. And we're looking at Segunda. We'll run percentages first and see how we come out on there. And let's have a look what we get. So you can see that. Sorry, rustling my papers. I've made some notes on this because I've done it before. So we can see that on here, the percentage of the draw is only at 28.6% in Segunda for those years. And if we look at the yield, we're going to see that it's not going to be great. We can see that only 18 were drawn, giving us a minus 8.8% yield. So percentage-wise, it was, I don't need to do it because I've already written it down. Percentage-wise, it was 28% draws, minus 8.8% yield. So the easy answer to the question is, over the last few years, that filter hasn't really returned great results for the draw filter, for the draw strategy in Segunda. But what it does show is something more interesting potentially. We've got some sort of value in under 3.5 and under 4.5 goals, and also in over 1.5 goals. You can make of that what you will. You could investigate that further. It's not a massive amount of significance for me, but we have got the away win with this filter set, returning 24 games out of 63, which is a 38% return. A 38% result, and that's actually a 17.2% yield. So out of the 63 games, 24 away wins. Now that's significant for me. That's significant enough for me to sort of drill into it a little bit further. And this is what happens quite a lot when I'm running these systems. I'll start with one hypothesis in mind. That'll be proven incorrect, but then I'll find something else that piques my interest, and I'll pick that up and run with it, and that's how some of my best strategies have been created, to be honest. So yeah, we've got 24 out of 63, a really strong start if we were building an away win filter, which is a really popular filter to build, and it can be really profitable to sort of oppose the home team. So at the moment we've got home win odds between 2.20 and 3. So what I normally do now would be just to tweak those odds a little bit and see what we can do. So what about if we take the win odds down to 2? We're allowing some of the better home teams into the filter, I guess. And you can see what happens when you let some of the better home teams into that filter. The away win rate drops down to 28%. So we're 30 out of 107 games now. And the yield has dropped down to minus 8.8%. And I can show you that. Minus 8.8%. So the home win has gone up 4.6% yield on that. So basically what we're saying here is when you drop the home odds down to evens, these teams priced here are performing like home favourites should, and they're winning the matches. So when you drop the odds down to 2, the market is saying these teams are likely to win. They've got a 50% chance of winning, and what we can see over the last 5 years is that they have won more often than not. So that's not good for our away filter. So we don't want that. So we want to take that back up to 2.2. And what else can we adjust in that case? So we don't want that to be any lower than 2.2. So what about if we increase above 2.2? So what about if we go up to 2.4 and see how that... And all things being equal here, so I'm leaving the over odds as they were. And you can see that if you increase it to 2.4, so it's 2.4 to 3, we're taking out even more of those strong favourites. And now we've actually stumbled across 18 wins out of 38, which is a 40.1% yield. So in terms of percentages, well, we can pretty much figure that out, can't we? It's very close to 50. So it's 47.4% strike rate. So massively improved on what we were looking at just then before. So we've seen that when we had 2.2 and 3 win odds for the home team, we had a decent return, and that's what sort of piqued our interest. But then we tweaked it a little bit to see how much more mileage we could get out of it. If you drop the odds down for the home win, then you're going to let in too many strong home favourites that is going to sway our results, and the away win, then any value there diminishes. So instead of just going back to normal and leaving it, what if we try and go up a little bit? So we've gone up to 2.4. Now, admittedly, you can see there's 38 games played here. With the original filter, I think we were looking at what we were looking at with the original one, 63. 63 games. So we've filtered it through, and we've now got 38. When we dropped it down to 2 to evens, we were 107 games. So you've got to note that there's a much smaller well, it's not a smaller sample, because we're still using the same amount of games. We're still going through five seasons worth of data, but you're getting fewer results. So you're not going to get a winner every week with this strategy. It would be a strategy that you would sort of have amongst your others in the portfolio. But if you can develop something like this for each league, or for a number of leagues, if you've got time to do that, which if you want to take it seriously, then you're going to find that time, then this is a real strong start. So in that case, we can see now we've got a 47.4% strike rate, and we've got a 40% yield. So what would we do then? So can we catch more games maybe by going above the 3 for the home odds? So could we say we'll let some more weaker teams in, and we'll say if the home favourite is up to 3.10, why don't we try there and calculate and see what happens to our wins now. And this is how I build my strategies. It's sort of trial and error. I'll be moving the odds up and down and just adjusting them to see what the sort of what difference it makes, basically. So for this one, we can now say we've got 42 games, so we have let a few more games, and it's not massively statistically sort of relevant, really. Only 4 more games. There's 1 more away win, only 1 out of that 4, so that skews our sort of percentages to 45.2% success rate, and that comes out at minus 30% yield, I think. Is it plus 33% yield, but it's a minus in terms of it's lower than what it was when we had the odds at 3.0, so it's still positive, and it's let a few more games in, but it's not as strong a yield. So really, there's not too much difference between the odds being at 3 and 3.10. But I'm quickly going to decide that I'm going to settle on odds of 2.40 and 3.10 for home win odds in Spain to look for those away wins. So we'll leave this as it is, and we'll go to the over 2.5 odds. So we're starting off at 1.90 to 2.20, and then we're going to go to, what should we move it to? Why don't we remove it completely? Let's see what happens if you remove it completely. So now we've got only 172 out of 580 away wins, which is 29%, which is too low, really, with a minus 7.7% yield. But now we've flip-flopped back to what we were looking for originally. We wanted draws originally. And so if you remove the overs completely and say there's no filter on overs, the draw strategy would actually give you a 5.2% yield. We're looking at 208 out of 580, which is just about 36%. So it's not huge. It's 208 out of 580. So we're looking at 36% and a 5.2% yield. But the away wins have dropped drastically. So what about if we take that and add back in some filters for over 2.5 goals? So we're saying now we're not filtering out goals with extreme score lines predicted. We're letting them in, and how will that fare? What will happen to the data then? So now this is quite interesting again. Now we're getting 41 games. We're flipping back to the away wins. We're getting 21 out of 41 away wins, which is 51.2%, and we're getting a 50% yield on that, which is huge. Again, it's a small amount of games, but it's from a big sample. But when we've filtered, we're only getting 41 games out of those 5 seasons. But we're getting a 50% yield on that. This is just for Spain Segunda, remember. This is just one league. So you would be going through and potentially building something like this for every league you want to bet on. I would suggest using a filter that works for one league, such as this, and then running it for a load of other leagues to see how it works for those, and see if you can clump them together and run a filter for that. So yeah, so you can see the draw has gone back out again, but we've got really good progress with the away wins. So what do we do now? We could leave it there and decide that we're happy with a successful sort of filter, but I would like to just do a little bit more digging. So what we're saying here is, if we're building a little hypothesis out of this, we're saying that it's beneficial to allow high scoring, or games that are predicted to be high scoring according to the market, allowing those into the filter when looking for away wins. So we're saying we want the home win odds to be between 2.40 and 3, which suggests there's no strong home favourite. It's a sort of even game, you'd suggest. But we're happy to have games that are going to have a lot of goals. So what happens if we leave the lower limit at 1 but increase the upper limit to 2.4? We say 2.4, give it a chance of actually changing. So now we can see that our away wins, we're getting 44 out of 124, which is still, it's not terrible, is it? 5.1% yield, so 44 out of 124 is 35.5% strike rate, which is still around about where you'd be looking at for a successful draw strategy. You're letting a few more games in, but not necessarily quality games, so I'm going to skip back down to there and leave that where it is. But what is interesting here, as a little caveat, is you'll see over here in the overs stats that 19 out of those 124 games finish with over 4.5 goals. Now, over 4.5 goals, you're going to get very good odds with over 4.5 goals, because not many games finish with over 4.5 goals. But with this one, you're getting a 6.8% yield, and it's like 15% of the games finished with over 4.5 goals, which, I mean, there's definitely further work to be done there. And if you click on it, by the way, you'll see the games which did finish with over 4.5 goals. I clicked on it by accident then, to be honest, but that's a very clever feature as well of the system. So you can see all these games finished with over 4.5 goals. It'll give you the goal times for the home and away and the different ELO rankings. I mean, that's a real good bit of detail which I didn't even mean to show you. So that's not something I'm going to pick up and run with in this video, because I was looking at draws and sort of away, and then away wins, but this would be the third strategy that had come out of it by jumping over to over 4.5 goals, which is something I'll be looking at away from this video, because that really did catch my attention. So we're basically saying for a Segunda filter for away wins over the past 5 years, you'd be looking at using home win odds between 2.40 and 3.0, and over 2.5 goals odds between 1.0, so no lower limit, and 2.20. And if you did that, you'd get 41 games, 21 of which would be away wins, which would be a 51.2% strike rate, and that would return a 50% yield. Now, one last interesting thing that I want to show you is a lot of people recently, which I didn't really expect, because it's not the sort of approach I use, have been saying that it's not really worth going back and testing data, and that it's all irrelevant because it's stuff that's already happened in the past, which, I mean, I get what they're saying, but kind of data is stuff that's happened, and that's what we base future decisions, or at least help to predict future occurrences on. But look, I'm not throwing shade or anything. But so if we say, let's take out another season of data, let's say, okay, we're not even looking back as far as 2019, now we're only looking at 2020. Okay, so now we've got 25 games, 14 of which were away wins, which gives us a 66.2% strike rate and a yield of 56. Yield of 66.2%. And it was over 56% strike rate. So you could say that it still works if you don't. And okay, let's do one more. 2021. Calculate 2021. Okay, so now obviously lots less games because we've taken out a few seasons. So we've searched 17 games have been returned in total. There've been 11 away wins in that time, which is 64.7%, and the yield is obviously going to be through the roof, 92.4%. So I'm not saying it proves completely that the strategy works, but if you want to say, I don't want to go back too far because I don't trust that it's got any relevance data from 5 seasons ago, you can see that if you trim it down and get closer to the current day, then we're still getting really good returns.
So I hope you found that interesting. As you can see, by looking at the stats and by interrogating and drilling down further and further, we often uncover different angles that we weren't expecting to. So from starting to look at a draw filter, we ended up creating an away win filter with the potential for an over 4.5 goal filter. So yeah, hopefully that will give you some food for thought. And if you do want to get involved with the CGM bet system a little bit more, and you want to become a member, then I've got a link in the description that you can follow that will give me a little kickback if you do join using that link. You can also join the VIP group that I've got on the website, which will allow you to discuss filters and discuss various betting angles and trading strategies. So yeah, please get involved. If you haven't liked the video, please do. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. And take it easy. See you later.